It's nice to see the UFC finally getting back into Canada more often than not, especially after the whole COVID fiasco and getting back into Canada. And I believe this is going to be their second trip north of the border as they follow up that Montreal serving that they had back in May with a Vancouver card here in October. Headlining the card is not two Canadians, but we do have a high-stakes middleweight matchup between the streaking Renier de Ridder and the short-notice replacement Brendan Allen. Co-main event does feature a Canadian as Mike Malott, who is probably one of the most popular Canadian fighters on the roster right now, takes on fan favorite Kevin Holland, who's going to be looking to snatch a victory on enemy territory here, but it could be a tough one for him to try to get the win. Reminder, this is the quick picks version of the UFC Vancouver breakdown. I will be getting right to the point of every single prediction, so I'll clearly leave out some details for some of these fights. If you still have some questions about my predictions, check out the MMA Logcast, which I dropped the other day, where I go, nearly an hour talking about every single matchup, and I pretty much don't leave any details out of those breakdowns. So make sure you guys check that out. I'll have that linked in the description below, or just check the YouTube page and you can find it there. All right. Hope you're laced up and ready to go because we're off and running with the first fight of the night here between Melissa Croden and Tainara Lisboa. I think this will be an emphatic statement-making debut for Croden, who I think can utilize her physicality, top control, and even her Muay Thai against the cage. I think she's just going to be far stronger than Lisboa, and that will allow Croden to grind this out and eventually find that finish probably in the second or third round. Next up, we got Azamat Bekoev going up against Yusri Belgaroui. Belgaroui getting the rub from Alex Pereira to get back into the UFC, or get into the UFC in the first place. But I think he's going to struggle with the wrestling of Bekoev, but also the improved striking of Bekoev. So look for Bekoev to mix this up well enough and really grind Belgaroui down and win this fight on the scorecards. Next up, we got Stephanie Luciano going up against Ravina Oliveira. I think that Oliveira will struggle in her return after 2 years away from action, and Luciano will really put it on her with her striking, probably mix in some takedowns. But once this fight hits the scorecards, I think it's going to be a pretty clear win for Stephanie Luciano. Next up, we got Kyle Prepolec going up against Drew Dober. I'm not a big fan of Dober at this super chalky line considering his recent form, and Prepolec obviously being a striker himself, but I still think that Dober is the better all-around fighter, and as long as his durability holds up, he should be able to mix up the striking and grappling well enough to win this fight on the scorecards. Next up, we got Danny Barlow going up against Jourdain Santos. Barlow looking to bounce back from his first pro loss last time around, and I think he has a very good matchup to do it here successfully. He'll be going up against a volume-heavy approach from Santos, but I think Barlow will counter him effectively, land that straight left down the pipe, and find the win by knockout. Next up, we got Bruno Silva going up against Hyun Sung Park. This should be a great spot for Park to get back into the win column, utilizing his athleticism, speed, and power advantages over the veteran Bruno Silva. Look for Park to eventually land that seminal blow in the second or third round to win this fight by knockout. Next up, we got Charles Jourdain going up against Davy Grant. Fun fight here, and one that could potentially steal Fight of the Night honors. But I think it's going to be the youth, speed, unorthodox striking, and dangerous BJJ game of Davy Grant, which eventually helps him chip away at Grant, pull out a desperation takedown, and eventually lead to Jourdain snatching up another submission victory. Next up, we got Kyle Nelson going up against Matt Frevola. This fight probably could be a car crash, but if Frevola plays it safely and avoids the big power of Nelson, I think we can see Frevola easily take this fight to the ground, rinse and repeat that style, and that should either lead to him winning this fight by submission or grinding it out and winning it on the scorecards. Next up, we got Cody Gibson going up against Aoriqileng. This, along with the Jourdain fight, could contend for Fight of the Night, and I believe that is why it is on the main card, even though there is no Canadian in this matchup. I still believe Gibson is a better striker and better wrestler than Aoriqileng, and as long as he can muzzle that aggressive style of Aoriqileng, Gibson should do a good enough job in terms of mixing the martial arts and then winning this fight on the scorecards. Next up, we got Fiorot going up against Jasudavicius. Probably a number one contender fight for Jasudavicius, whereas Fiorot is looking to bounce back after losing out on her title shot against Shevchenko back in May. But I think Fiorot's perpetual movement, footwork, and her distance striking will cause Jasudavicius too many problems, and that will leave Jasudavicius as a sitting duck on the feet. Look for Fiorot to put on a classic Fiorot performance, and that should lead to a decision victory. Next up, we got Marlon Vera returning after a year away from action, going up against the streaking Ayman Zahabi. Unfortunately for Zahabi, I think his run ends here, as the aggressive style of Vera should end up being too much for Zahabi to deal with. When Zahabi can just sit back at distance and counter his opponents, he does find himself being successful. But I don't think Vera will allow him that comfort here, as he continuously pushes forward, landing his aggressive output, and either he gets a late finish, or I'm going to go with Vera winning this fight on the scorecards. That brings us to the co-main event now, where we got Kevin Holland going up against Mike Malott, looking to add another dub for the Maple Militia, as he calls them. Unfortunately for him, I think this is a tough stylistic matchup. I think Holland can really pick apart Malott from distance, and Malott, on paper, is a better skill-for-skill fighter than Holland, but I just don't think he can keep up with the speed, range, or distance work of Holland, and that should lead to Holland eventually finding a big shot to put Malott away. And lastly, that brings us to the main event now, where we got Renier de Ridder going up against Brendan Allen. I think that de Ridder will do a good job in terms of utilizing his aggressiveness to keep Allen on the back foot. From there, he'll be able to mix in some wrestling, and I think Allen's submission defense will be good enough to save him from getting finished, unless the short notice fight actually causes his gas tank to fail him a lot sooner than later. I think eventually de Ridder will just keep that top pressure, keep that control, and eventually win this fight on the scorecards. There you guys go. Quick picks for UFC Vancouver. It's been a full day of content. If you guys haven't checked out the YouTube page already, make sure you guys check out the other 2 videos that I dropped today. And then tomorrow, we will be back for the free parlay, as well as the prop drop for UFC Vancouver. I'll see you guys then. Peace.